Again, I started in business when I was young, so I was not worried about getting married. I wasn't worried about having kids. I was worried about making money. I came from a small town in Pennsylvania where everybody worked in factories. None of my family went to college. Everybody worked in the factories and pretty much died working in those factories. So as I was growing up, my father passed when I was 14, and I was on my own. I was blessed to have two amazing grandparents, and my grandfather always taught me that there's two things in life people will always need. So just work in these fields, Amy, if you don't want to be a factory worker or on this horse farm. And he said it's insurance and real estate. So okay. So I went off to college, got a degree in marketing and business, never used it. And I got the opportunity to move to Florida with a company when I was 21 years old. And they only were opening this office because they wanted a write-off office for all their offices across the United States. And I'm like, I'm living in Philly. I was like, I'll go. So at 21 years old, I came to run really a multi-million-dollar company. And I walked in, and I'm coming from corporate in Philly. And I walk into this office, and these people got their feet kicked up on the desk. They've got shorts and t-shirts on. I'm like, oh God, what did I just get myself involved in? Because coming from corporate, you got to be dressed nice, you have to wear nylon. There's none of that. So I'm like, oh boy, what did I just get myself into? So that first year at that office was pretty rocky because they didn't like me at all. Because obviously I'm coming to make changes in policies. But what was really amazing about that office is it became the #1 office in 6 months out of 22 offices across the United States. What is even more amazing about that office when I fast forward to now, I'd probably say there's a good 20 of those individuals from way back then that work for our company today. So they've been on those journeys. So the advantage of what I went through in that company was really understanding how businesses ran and how the world works. And 9/11 happened, which we all probably know exactly where we were that day. Unfortunately, I was sleeping because I worked late that night, so I go to my office at 11 o'clock and no one's there. I have no clue what's going on. I turn on the TV and I realize what's going on in the world, right? And in that instance, my entire life changed. So my company decided, because unfortunately I worked with Citibank Discover, they lost about 3,000 employees in the towers. So within that week, they decided to shut the United States offices down and shoot everybody over to the Philippines. So now here I am, at 21, just gave up everything, moved to Florida by myself. I'm like, oh shit, now what do I do? But I was smart enough when I moved to get a severance package. So if they're going to send me there for 3 years, they've got to pay me for at least 3 years. So I took that money, because I didn't have money like that, and I literally went to school, got my insurance and real estate license, and that's how I began. I had about $20,000 to my name, and I did my first wholesale flip, and I did wholesale for probably about 5 years to start building up my business. But in that process, what was really cool is I started to meet real estate people. And I met a gentleman by the name of Mike Collins and Ron LeGrand. And some of you that are probably older in here know these guys because these are old school real estate guys. Well, what was really cool is you have a young person, right, with all these old men. No offense, older guys, love you. But these guys didn't know how to do marketing in this age, right? So what was really awesome is instead of me having to pay all this money to learn real estate, I bartered. I taught them how to market their business, they taught me how to do real estate. And on that journey, I had the opportunity to meet all types of different investors and gurus. And then the '08 happens, right? I'm like, can I get a break? So the market crashes, right, in '08. I'm like, great, so there goes residential real estate. Lucky for me, I didn't come from money. So every property that I did, I bought it, cash. So it was good. So I didn't lose properties, but obviously I wasn't buying anymore at that point. My money completely stopped. And I was blessed to have the opportunity to go out to California. I was headhunted to go to the Commercial Training Institute. And at that company is actually where I met my partner, Dutch. And it was kind of a fun, he told you guys the nice side of the story. There's a different side of that story, right? So I'm running the whole consulting side. It's their first event they're putting on. So I'm working 40 hours a week, in the evenings, on the weekends, training these people because they've never done an in-person event, right? So they're over the phone. So face-to-face is a little bit different. So we get to the event, I got my 10-man team, and here comes Dutch strolling in. He's got a 10-man team. I'm like, who are you? He said, well, who are you? So I run the consultants, who are you? Well, I run fulfillment. I said, oh, cool. Well, what are they for? Oh, well, they're going to do the sales. I said, well, they're certainly not. That's what my team does. So we're looking at each other. And now, mind you, I've been through a lot of gurus at this point, the egos and everything, right? I'm like, oh, here we go again. Just surrender, Amy. But I didn't have to do that. He looked at me and said, well, what do we do? Because my people worked hard to get here, and your people worked hard to get here. I said, all right, we'll just put them together, and we'll do it together, right? And in that moment, I realized that, okay, this guy's a little bit different than all these other people that I've been dealing with over the years, right? So we put our teams together, they did a great job, and we ran like that for a couple of years. And Dutch and I started to communicate a lot because I did the front end. And Dutch did the back end of the business, which means he worked internally with the students, coaching them and teaching them. And I kept asking for testimonials, right? Hey, what did they do? Let me see the deals. We kept getting the same 2 people. I'm like, we have thousands of investors. That doesn't make any sense. So as we start to dig, we realize these guys aren't really taking care of their students, right? They're really selling education. They pluck 1 or 2 people to make them look successful, and they just keep making the money. Now, as he told you, I'm making $1 million every 6 months, right? Easy at this place. I mean, their highest package is $100,000 to buy into. So I'm making amazing money, and I wake up one morning and I realize I can't do this. But at the same time, I'm like, what the hell am I going to do now? Because here's the 3rd round. Like, here goes all my money again. But I looked in the mirror that morning and I was like, I can't do this. Because I looked at my grandmother and I was like, if anybody ever did that to my grandmother, I'd be in jail. And I'm like, I can't do that to people. I wasn't raised that way. So I packed 1 bag and I got on a plane and I went back to Florida. Nobody knew for weeks. Dutch calls me. He says, hey, Amy, I just put my package on there. I paid them all this money for you to take care of it. I was like, yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm in Florida. I'm not coming back. And I told him what was going on. And then 2 weeks later, him and Vanessa walked away from the company as well. So now here we are. We just made all this money, starting to get our feet on the ground. Dutch has got his commercial short sale course, and now we went right back to ground zero. So we slowly built it back then. We started doing, what we actually did is we took on all their students that they didn't take care of. Because the reality is they're looking at me. Well, Amy, you brought me into it, and they're looking at that, you're supposed to teach me. So we ate that, and we took all those students on and we started teaching them, and then we created basically a $500 program where people could start working with us. And that's how we slowly built our company over the years. And then obviously you see what it's evolved into now. So we have definitely been on a journey. Even this journey has been crazy. Really, we started off, we're just gonna teach people. We're gonna do the opposite of what everybody else does. We're gonna do hands-on training. We're going to take these people and we're going to guide them right to the deal. Easy, right? For us, that was easy. That worked for about a year. But every auction we kept going to, nobody would buy. We took them through all the training. We're standing right beside them. Can't fail, we're going to do it with you. We're right here. Nobody would buy a deal. So we go back and I'm like, well, we can't do this. Because now we're just like those guys, right? They're just paying us, but they're not making any money. And we had a group of students, a good bit of them just happened to be here this weekend. Go figure. And basically told Dutch, put your money where your mouth is. Okay, partner with us. So we had to go back and I'm like, well, how do we do that? Because they don't know what the hell they're doing. No offense. But they're new. I'm like, well, they don't know how to do real estate, so how are we supposed to partner with them? So that's how we created what's called our inner circle today. And it started with 6 individuals, and I think 3 of those 6 are actually here today. I think we're 9 or 10 years into the inner circle now. I don't know, time just kind of flows when you're in this business. But what was really cool about it is we started partnering with them. So then we're like, okay, well, you got to legally do it. So we open a private fund. Cool. Well, that fund hits 11 million. Now we got to go to a second one. That one hits a third one. So within 3 years, we have 3 funds that are private at 44 million. All eyes on us now, right? So basically, we look at becoming public because we're told, hey, you need to go public if you're going to do this and raise money. So we went through the process of becoming a Regulation A REIT. And it took us a little over 2 years to do it. And it was a lot of work and a lot of money. But the reality is for us to go to the next level in our business, to take you guys where you are today, we didn't have a choice but to do that. So now you fast forward today, I can't even count how many actual funds that we have, to be honest with you. It's a lot of them. But what we've created basically is platforms for every type of individual in this world, whether you make $50,000 a year, you make millions a year, that you can be able to get into real estate and begin this process, right? So I know a lot of people come here. I remember a lady saying yesterday, you have to $50,000 to $200,000 to do something with us. So shit, that would be great, because my job would be really easy if that's what we work with, right? We'd be buying deals every single day, and everybody already makes money, so you'd be happy. That's not really how it works. So what I want you guys to understand in this crowd is everybody is on a different plateau when it comes to their finances, right? So it doesn't matter if you're here or you're up here. It's a matter of what you do with it moving forward, right? So you can be here all weekend and you can learn everything that we teach you, and you can go home and go back to doing the same thing you've always done, right? Nothing's going to change for you. It's going to go the same. Or you can decide what you're going to do with your life. What I want you to understand from us is I don't care if you invest with us or not. What I care is that you actually make a decision to do something for yourself, which is why we bring other people here to show you other avenues of investing, right? So there's an option for everybody. So as you go through this weekend, think about what's best for you and where your journey is about to go and what type of money that you want to make and what type of legacy you want to create, okay? And I know everybody stands up here and talks about money. Money is great, don't get me wrong. I love it. It makes life a lot easier for a lot of people, but it's not going to bring you happiness, just to be clear. And I'll tell you why. So before this little guy came into my life, I was making a lot of money. I just went through my second divorce. Don't judge me. I just went through my second divorce. I'm making a lot of money. I'm traveling. Me and Dutch are like road warriors at this point. Every other weekend, we're on the road. We're making a lot of money. We're living the life. But boy, those hotel rooms are lonely at night. You know, and then when you get home to your house and there's nobody there but a dog, it gets kind of lonely after a while. And I think I was in my late 30s and I was like, you know, I just met my second husband. Yeah, that's the first husband I divorced. So my second husband, I just met him. And I told him, you know, I really want to be a mom. We were in the position that one of us could really stay at home, which clearly was going to be him, not me. And we went down this journey to adopt. But how the journey started is where I came from as a kid. I went through a lot before I turned the age of 14. My dad actually got custody when I was 8, but those first 8 years were an absolutely horrible life. And when I got to Florida, one of the things that I wanted to do is start to really work with kids in my spare time. So I ended up connecting with this foundation called Joshua House. These are children that typically don't get adopted. These are kids that have severe behavioral issues. They've been through severe sex trafficking and things like that. So I started to work with these individuals, and if I could take all the kids home with me, I would have, but I can't take them all. But as the years passed and I began to work with them and I got to that place in my life and got married, I'm like, I want to be a mom. We have the money to do it now. I never wanted to be a mom before. I love kids, but I never wanted to be a mom because I'm like, I will never put a child through what I went through, right? Never wanted it, but I got to meet DJ, and the day I met DJ, moms will know this because we get this feeling, right? But the day I met DJ, as he walked towards me, I got these butterflies in my stomach. Before we ever spoke, before I ever knew anything about him, like, oh, that's my kid. Like, that's it right there. And they took us on a horrible journey to adopt DJ. It was brutal. We had to sit in these classes that I thought would help you because you have to foster first, right? And I thought these classes were really to help me. And as I sat in this room and I looked at these people, nobody cared about anything in the room until they started talking about money and the checks you get for these kids. So we would leave and we would go to dinner every time after we left, and I would just cry. I'm like, I don't know that I can do this. I can't sit in the room with these people knowing they're about to adopt some of these kids or foster these kids, and it's just a paycheck. They don't care. But we pushed through it because for me, I'm like, well, we can save one of those kids, right? So we pushed through these classes, and when it came to finally going with DJ, they're like, you don't want to adopt him. He's been in 33 foster homes since he's been 3 months old. He's almost been adopted 8 times. He's nonverbal, he doesn't listen, he's on all these medications. I was like, no, I want to meet DJ a little bit more. I want to spend more time with him. And that's what we did. And we had to fight. I remember the first time I had to meet the foster mom that he was at. And we pull up, nice house, nice brand new excursion out front. And my son comes out, he's got a hole in his shoes. His hair is so matted and froed out that you can't even pick it. No boxers on him, holy t-shirt. So I go back to where his room's at. Thinking, okay, well, let me grab something else. And he's got a mattress on the floor and broken toys. And there's a lock on the outside of the door. Now, if any of you have ever adopted, you know you have to play the game with the system, right? And if you piss the foster parents off, well, it's game over. So we take DJ for that day, and we have an amazing day with him. And the first thing we do is take him to get it. We had to ask permission. Can we take him at least get his haircut and get him some nice clothes? She was fine with that. Of course she was, because she's putting the money in her pocket. But I remember that night having to take DJ back to that house. And it's probably one of the worst moments in my entire life because I knew what he was walking back into. And if you don't know anything about me, I love control. Most people know that. So this is one of those situations where I have zero control over it, right? And I'm like, and I know what this kid's going through. So I push and I push our attorney, right? You're supposed to go through, it's 90 days of meet and greets. And then you got to do 90 days where they come and live with you. And then if that all goes well, then you can start the process. So I pushed. And I said, one of two things can happen at this point. When that day, this last day of school was 30 days from there, he either comes with us, or I'm coming for your system. I'm coming for Eckert, I'm coming after you and what you guys do. Well, the day DJ left school that day, they said, come get him. And he never left our house since that day. Never left our house. So the reason I tell you guys about DJ, it is for many reasons, right? One, he forever changed my life. He humbled me. Because at that point in my life, like I said, I was doing whatever I wanted, spending money, I didn't care. I didn't have anybody to take care of. I made sure grandma was already good at home, and that was pretty much all I had to worry about. But through DJ's journey, and the reason I tell you my son's journey is a lot of people say, oh, Amy, I can't do this, or I can't do this. This is a kid that went through a lot. He was pretty much nonverbal. When we met him, they told me he would never read and write. He'd never be able to dress himself. He would never operate in society. DJ just turned 19. So we've been together almost 9 years. And in these 9 years, the first thing we had to do in the first 2 years was get him all the horrible drugs they had him on off, right? What a journey. I told him he was my Tasmanian devil. There was days, 72 hours that the kid wouldn't sleep, we had to take rotation. And he was like a Tasmanian devil. Like, we did a lot of reconstruction in our houses. But as DJ went through this journey, and everyone's like, he can't do it. So the first school we put him in, it was really just to socialize him. So he loves cars, everybody knows that. And everywhere DJ went, he had to have a car. And if he didn't, and he realized he didn't have it, it was a complete atomic bomb dropping. So we get him to the school, and he's 6 months into it. They send you videos every day, and my son's always over here with his car. All the other kids are over here. And then this one day I get a video, and he's kicking the ball with little kids. I'm like, oh my God, finally. Finally, he's opening up and starting to talk. So he works through this school. We get him to the next school, because now it's like, all right, DJ's 12. We got to start learning, because he was under a kindergarten level of learning. Like, they just pushed him through school. So we get him to the next school, and it's a private school. And the thing with DJ is, what you also have to understand is he was kicked out of every single school in Pinellas and Hillsborough County, all the way up to Pasco. So literally, we found one private school. It was a part of Sacred Heart, and we had to pay a lot of money for them to take DJ into their school, because all they looked at was DJ on paper. They're like, oh, hell no. Absolutely not. Like, this kid's a terror. He's going to destroy the school. And I'm like, that's not who he is. Don't judge him off the paper. Please give him a chance. And DJ gets into school, and he begins to excel. And what was really cool for my son is, my son was developmentally delayed because nobody took care of him, right? But what was really awesome about this school for DJ is he's in a school with a lot of kids with all types of disabilities, from cerebral palsy to kids that are nonverbal to blind kids. So my son was the normal kid now, right? My son was the normal kid, and what I immediately noticed about DJ in that school is he started helping the teacher, and he started helping the other kids, which was totally awesome. And what was horrible about that school is DJ got to that age, and now we're at a first grade level. DJ's 16. He's gonna age out. No, he's not ever gonna graduate from here, we're sorry. At 22, he's gotta leave the school. So I'm like, great, now we're back to square one. And then I thought, well, look, we're blessed, right? Like, God has blessed me to be able to do the things that I do. So we got DJ a private teacher. And he still has a private teacher this day. He's homeschooled. But you fast forward to today, my son can read. My son can write. Last year, he couldn't even count to 10. He's doing multiplication now. Yeah! And again, the reason I tell you this is a kid.